right, folks, welcome to Nino's Corner, and I got a hell of a show today for you. I got two big shows today. I got 𝗬𝗏𝗶𝗹 coming on right now. He's taking the stairs, folks. His elevator broke, and he's walking down 10 flights of stairs. And you know what? I say that's good, Juanito. You need the exercise, buddy. Good for the heart. We want to keep Juanito around, right? Everybody loves Juanito. Folks, hit the notification button. Hit the notification button. Like, share, subscribe. Do what you can do there. Venmo is 𝗬𝗏𝗏1977. 𝗬𝗏𝗏1977. Pretty soon, everything you see behind me is going to be a little different. I'm going to change up the studio a little bit. Put some of my championship belts behind me. Just some different stuff. Make it look like a real studio. I'm kind of getting sick of the background, to be honest with you. So we're going to change things up. Also, SAVE Act. Is the SAVE Act going to pass, or is this going to flop? And if it flops, what does that mean? Does it mean the executive order? I'm going to be talking to 𝗬𝗏𝗶𝗹 about that. And Newsom, you're in trouble, big guy. You're in trouble. Cash for ballots? Are you kidding me? See, folks, this is what they got to resort to. This right here is what they got to resort to. They can't win the right way. They got to cheat. They got to cheat. They can't do it honestly. And we're going to force them into an honest election. But it's going to be really, really messy. And that's my prediction. It's going to be really messy. And I'll talk to 𝗬𝗏𝗶𝗹 about that and so much more. Folks, when the lights go out on Amazon, please leave an honest review for me. I think we're past 600-something reviews now. It's pretty good. So I'm doing all right. That's a book I wrote on my own. Hey, yo. I wrote the book on my own. And then my mama's book, The Mexican Mix. Hey, pretty good. She went slumming with a Mexican. So parents are doing okay. Stable condition. Round-the-clock nurses at their house. My dad has another procedure coming up in a couple weeks, in about a week, actually. So please, prayers are welcome. So, boy, if you all knew, I mean, this has been really, really tough situation for me to be dealing with. I don't know how I'm able to come on here and do podcasts every day. Folks, get your My Primal Life, and I use this stuff, and it works. If you've been told the only way to control high blood pressure is with a cabinet full of pills, listen up. That's not the case. A leading blood pressure doctor from Texas has discovered what he calls an odd salt trick. In his study, participants used this simple method and saw their numbers drop into a healthy range, often in just weeks. I saw mine drop in 1 week. Here's the best part. Many were even able to reduce their medications with their doctor's approval. Just imagine going from dangerously high readings like mine were to near perfect blood pressure like mine are now. Imagine saying goodbye to the endless cycle of prescriptions and the constant fear of heart problems. One patient, Dan C. from Los Angeles, said, I couldn't believe it in 1 week. Yeah, he did it in 1 week as well. I went from 200 over 100 down to 110 over 71. If you or someone you love is struggling with high blood pressure and you're looking for a safe, natural alternative, this could be exactly what you've been searching for, folks. I'm telling you, I had dangerously high blood pressure. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. It's not on there, but go to My Primal Life, myprimal.life, BP Nino, to see the doctor's odd salt trick that normalizes blood pressure without drugs. It'll be down there. If it's not there now, it will be there later. Believe me when I tell you that. Believe me when I tell you that, folks. Before I bring Juan on, folks, the live for sale. What is wrong with me today? What is wrong with me today? I get too excited, I think. I get so excited. I get so excited. The Live Forever sale. Live Forever sale is on ninoscorner.tv right now. One-time payment, and you live there forever, baby. It's the resurrection sale, baby. So we're doing the resurrection sale, Easter sale. I don't know how long I'm going to keep this up, to be honest with you. So it's the Live Forever sale happening right now on ninoscorner.tv. And I got amazing guests on there, folks. I got Jerome Corsi, Ann Vandersteel, L.A. Marzulli, 𝗬𝗏𝗶𝗹, The Ghost, Sheila Holm, Dr. Tal Braun is coming on today. We're going to study Erica Kirk's body language. This guy has worked with some of the most prolific serial killers and psychopaths. And he goes, oh, yeah, there's a lot there to work with, Dave. And I was like, okay, let's do this. This is what this guy does. He works in the prison systems in Australia. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to be, we did Hillary Clinton last time. Now we're doing Erica Kirk today. We might even it out and do some Candace Owens as well. Why not? So Dr. Tal Brown will be today. SG Anon's coming on Gene Decode. General Tent will be Daniel Brinkley. Everybody loves Daniel Brinkley. Ringside with Nino is Wednesday the 25th, 5 p.m. It's folks, you got to look at Nino's Corner.tv as a networking station. We all come together and we war game together. We have monthly meetings twice a month and a general tent. So 3 meetings a month, all of us together. And I bring guests on like 𝗂𝗏, Daniel Brinkley, The Ghost, everybody. Everybody comes on and we all war game together. It is a community and it's growing fast. And without further ado, folks, you might want to turn it down or turn it up, baby. Yeah. Coming at you live from the apocalypse, folks. Yeah. Let's go. Oh, I just can't stand to hear him do that. I just can't stand it. It bothers me. It puts chills down my spine, but it turns me on. At the same time, it bothers me. It turns me on. All right. So, cash for ballots. O'Keefe uncovers shocking election scheme. And we knew they were going to do something, right, folks? We all knew it was going to come down to this. The Democrats and rhinos are at it again. This time they're using a different tactic to cheat. The old way of recruiting illegal immigrants has been thwarted, so now they're resorting to homeless shelters in Skid Row all over Los Angeles County. So they're going to Skid Row and paying the homeless to vote for Democrats. Yeah, this is what they're resorting to. They know they have no chance. But I think Juan is going to clear that up for us right now because it is coming to a head right now. O'Keefe Media Group investigation uncovered cash for ballots operation targeting homeless on Skid Row. You know, they'll do anything for a fix. Even vote Democrat. That's how desperate they are. So, folks, they will stop at nothing, and at the same time, you have them resorting to these scandalous tactics. You have once brazen and emboldened MAGA podcasters, influencers, and politicians turning on Trump over the Iranian war. I'm sure you all see it. We're all watching it. Everyone thinks they know more than the next person. All I can tell you is this Iranian war was inevitable. It had to happen. And I'd rather it happen right now than when they get a nuke. And when Hezbollah and Hamas come here screaming Holy Allah Akbar and blow up the fucking Golden Gate Bridge or something, folks. I don't know. I'm just saying, let's snip it in the butt now. Neuter them now. And I know a lot of people out there, how can you say that? This is war for bucks. This is all about oil. No. This was always a globalist plot, always a globalist plan to take down America. And that's why so many came in through the border, cells to be activated. How do you not understand the plan here? How do you not understand? Are you so genius at everything else? But this you just keep missing. This was always the plan. And I'll have Juan talk about that as well. We had to neutralize the threat now. So, you know, my question to 𝗂𝗏 will be, if the SAVE Act doesn't get passed, which I don't expect it to, I don't think it will, does that mean we steamroll right into the national emergency executive order signed by Trump? And as all this is happening, you know, it's like so much is happening at once. Everything is happening at once, right, folks? NATO is turning on Trump over the Iran war. But, you know, we don't really want them anyway, right? So, I don't know. We're killing many birds with one stone here. Is this all part of the plan? And now I'm going to ask Juan that. And, folks, get your questions ready. Super chat questions ready if you want me to read them off to Juan. So, does this mean we can leave NATO now since they're turning their back on Trump? I don't know. I have questions. But first, undercover video exposes California elections fraud scheme. O'Keefe Media Group investigation uncovers cash for ballots. Operation targeting homeless on the Skid Row. You know you got to be real desperate if you're voting Democrat. The O'Keefe Media Group has released undercover footage showing individuals offering cash cigarettes, okay? Cigarettes, it's like prison, and marijuana homeless people in exchange for signatures on election petitions and voter registration forms in Los Angeles. The investigation uncovered instances of petitioners instructing people to use fake addresses. God, with one Weingarten Center employee telling an undercover journalist, you can just put Pinocchio Lane as an address. They actually use this as an address. Pinocchio Lane. The U.S. Attorney's Office and California officials have responded, stating that such archives are federal and state felonies that will be aggressively investigated and prosecuted. Here's why it matters. This investigation raises serious concerns about potential election fraud and the integrity of the election process in California. Oh, and Texas is just as bad. I'm sure you're seeing what's happening in Texas as well, folks. The alleged cast ballot scheme, if true, would undermine public confidence in the fairness and legitimacy of elections. It highlights the need for robust safeguards and oversight to protect the democratic process. The O'Keefe Media Group's undercover journalists posed as homeless individuals on Skid Row in Los Angeles and documented 28 instances of petitioners offering cash, cigarettes, marijuana in exchange for signatures on election petitions and voter registration forms. The petitioners were also instructed to use fake addresses, with one guy's employee telling undercover journalists, you can just put Pinocchio Lane on there, folks. This is how desperate they are. So let's bring Juano Savin on. Juanito, can you hear me, Juanito?
Nino.
Here we are, baby, live from the apocalypse with Juanito. So let's first touch on the NATO situation with Iran before we get into this election stuff, because there's a lot there. But the NATO stuff, I mean, NATO's turning their backs on Trump. Basically, they don't want to touch Iran with a 10-foot pole, pretty much showing who they are, right?
Yeah, well, NATO hasn't been on America's side for a long time. They take everything, they give nothing. It's a one-way street. And Trump's been aggressively addressing those issues. And, we're not going to have a one-way street anymore. It doesn't matter whether you're talking trade or defense or any other area. So I think Trump's been highly appropriate in addressing NATO the way we are. And then the other thing is, I don't know that I even need to say anything at this point. You said it all right off the bat. Anybody that thinks that we could just allow what's been going on to continue without pushing back with Iran and with other issues around the world, tag teaming against America, cumulatively, even Ali couldn't do the 𝗀𝗶𝗶𝗶 all 15 rounds. He had to come out of his corner at some point in time. That's America.
That's a good analogy. Hey, I like that one.
Yeah, you gotta come out and start fighting. And we've been like Gulliver, all these little ropes and hooks, chains holding us down. Reality is, all we got to do is decide to stand up and pull all that stuff off and cut the crap. And that's exactly.
So what do you have to say so what do you think of these podcasters, man, that are coming out? Candace, so many of them coming out. Nick Fuentes coming out and just bashing Trump, saying we don't need this war. Charlie Kirk warned against it. What's the missing component? What are they missing here, Juanito? Why can't they see this? Why can't they see the forest through the trees here?
Well, I think it's a little different. Look at where they're getting their information. A lot of them have insiders, whether it be the Pentagon, the politics, and then other media information that comes out, not the kind that we were getting with O'Keefe. And by the way, let me just pause. Thank our Father in heaven for O'Keefe, for the beautiful work that he's doing. And they tried to take him out from inside his own organization that he created with his own vision, his own dream, survived all of those hits, and is still giving us this kind of amazing information, to get the truth out there about the attacks that have been going on in America in so many different ways. How can you not just be, you know, he needs like a Medal of Honor of some sort for doing battle in the most difficult situations, powering on the undercover. I tip my hat to O'Keefe. Beautiful.
Well, I mean, he uncovered a lot in California. I mean, obviously they're now in the spotlight, but also Texas, right?
All over the country. I mean, think of all the various issues. Every kind of, the medical, the military, the contractors. He has done unbelievable work. But here again, this is just a slice of all the ways that we're being conned and manipulated within the vote. The way that politics really works, the money flow. I mean, look, who's paying these people to go out and get these votes and scrape these votes out of the bottom of the barrel? And, continuing to try and provide some level of legitimacy. Before we're all done, by the way, Karen Bass, I believe, is going to have a very bad hair day at some point in here. She's the mayor of LA.
Oh yeah, this has got to her.
Totally. I mean, the frauds in the vote. Oh.
And let's talk about Arizona as well. Maricopa, Katie Hobbs. I mean, man, they're all going to be having a bad hair day, correct?
Yeah, because one thing, I've mentioned it before to your audience. We already have grand juries impaneled. They are hearing testimony right now. That it takes some time because of the global nature of the vote fraud, manipulation, the money flow. This isn't just, one little sliver off in the corner, go have the sheriff pick them up. You're talking about a worldwide operation by low-class people to steal a vote, not just America, but across the world. And so these grand juries, there's several now, well, more than one, have been hearing testimony on various aspects of this fraud. And they have already handed out some indictments, which have not been served yet, but the indictments can sit there until they're ready to, pounce, several of the players simultaneously. It'll be snake bite for a lot of these people. Some of them know it's coming.
So let me ask you this. What about this federal judge in D.C. that issues new grand jury policy after failed indictments of Democrats? The chief federal judge for the District of Columbia has ordered that the judiciary be notified when a grand jury rejects the Trump's administration attempts to indict defendants, following the failed effort to charge 6 sitting members of Congress over a social media video. So he's on Judge James Boasberg said the rules applies when the effort is to indict comes first as a grand jury investigation. He said it would be in place for 120 days, but could become permanent.
Yeah, because these practices have been really injustices, not justice. And even here, you see that the judge is trying to get ahead of a problem. He doesn't want to be, himself in the crosshairs. Some of the stuff that's coming is going to affect into the judiciary and to alliances and communication, which are, ultimately illegal. So if you know that it's going on around you, and senior judges kind of know what's going on within the rest of the group, and sometimes they allow it, sometimes they nip it in the bud because it's a reflection on them. You see the direction things are going. He's making sure the guys know, okay, and women, no, we're not going to do that here. It's just it's gonna blow up in our faces. So, this situation is maturing faster than most people see, because again, the first really major arrests haven't happened yet, and for most everybody, even in this audience,
Well, hold on.
Most of the people in this audience, it will not be real until they see
I agree.
the first arrest, and even the very first arrest won't quite hit it for them. They're looking for specific arrests, and those are.
But is that why we're taking care of Iran and neutralizing all the threats? 𝗬𝗃𝗂𝗁𝗂 came on my show, and I couldn't believe when he said this, to be quite honest with you. He said that there was never any cells to be activated here on American soil, that was never really a threat. The Hamas and Hezbollah coming onto our soil and being activated, which I said, that's why the raids happened. We were taking those people out first. Am I wrong here? I mean, to me, it's common sense to know that the cartels had their henchmen and everyone ready to take down America for such a time as now.
Well, we've been pushing back on these cells all the way along and taking them down. I mean, pretty consistently. And so I don't know that I would probably be in that much of agreement on that kind of a statement. It's an ongoing battle, and you don't need hundreds and hundreds of cells. You just need one or two to get through, and you've got
right. But what I'm saying, this is happening in operational phases, right, Juanito? So doing the raids first had to happen before we went after Iran, correct? Well,
yeah, all last year, we were from day one. I've said many times, I was, out there for the inauguration in D.C., and I was getting texts from people who were being activated, even while President Trump was still speaking during the inauguration, getting orders to report, and within a certain time period. And then those were the people who were assisting local law enforcement in various parts of the country to go out and arrest gang leaders of groups that Trump declared to be terrorist organizations. And when we took out the leadership, that leadership rolled over on a lot of their lieutenants in these various gangs, who then were picked up and transporting of materials, primarily bullets, up into the Midwest, was stopped. And so they literally picked up guys with van loads of, tens of thousands of bullets. And so they were getting ready to cause the kind of war and disruption a lot of people talk about, and we nipped it in the bud. President Trump's actions nipped that in the bud.
Yeah, because they were sending military-aged men here. I saw them doing acrobatic. When I saw them, it was like Cirque du Soleil jumping over the damn fence. I saw them jumping the fence, landing on their feet, and dodging cars through the highway. I would see this almost daily. And it was here in El Paso. And these guys had tats all over their face, MS-13. I mean, these look like some really mean hombres, and they did look military. They were in shape. And you can't tell me they were coming here to find a job selling oranges on the corner. I'm sorry. I mean, that when Jerome said that, I was like blown away. I was like, what is he talking about?
Well, again, denial is a river in Egypt. We don't have any business having it here. So, I don't know where Jerome was coming from on that, and so context is everything. But let me just say that we are addressing systematically, where you say, well, there's no plan. Well, there is a plan to ferret out and not allow these people, these groups, to work without having to look over their shoulder at the very least. So when we look at these gangs that were ripping us off every way you possibly could within the welfare system, child care system, the various organizations, Trump's defunded a lot of that, and got investigations. They have to look over their shoulder. Are they about to get raided or arrested? And by the way, that's what USAID was all about, taking out the funding that was coming in through 1,000 channels that we were paying for. The American people were paying for it, for these people that are un-American in everything that they doing and practicing.
So let me ask you this one, though. So the SAVE Act, do we expect that to pass? I mean, I mean, and would it be bad if it did pass? Don't we want this to go to an executive order? Isn't Trump ready for this executive order, the national emergency and executive order? I mean, isn't that really what we're waiting for here? Not so much the Save America Act.
Well, I think it brings the issue forward where we have to have a coherent conversation, and everybody has to put their cards on the table. You know, I said in the movie The Call that I did with Jennifer, everybody's going to have to pick a lane before this is over. Bringing it to a head and forcing everybody to pick a side. You know, we have people in the military and homeland security, in the politics. They've been kind of squishy in the gray areas. Well, we like Trump. We care about what he wants to do. But when push comes to shove, they're waffling because they're getting money. They got contacts. They're, you know, supporters. You know, the lobbying money is taking them off course. And so they're being forced to pick a side, pick a lane, and either be on our side or off, but not this fence riding stuff. And so the SAVE Act is helping people to see who's really not getting it or not going to participate to save the country. And Trump has said, you know, I'm not going to sign any more bills till this bill is passed. If they do pass it, it doesn't mean that Trump can't still do a national security order, emergency regarding elections and or any other matter. But it would be helpful to have that in place. And if there's further needed to protect us on the elections, he can do that. The elections are already being frauded on the primaries. Massive fraud. Right there in Texas. Oh my gosh, Nino. The amount of fraud. See, if they pick the candidates in the primaries that go on the ballots, then you only have a choice between they're bad or worse. And so you pick the lesser of two evils, or people just say, I'm not even voting. It doesn't matter because, you know, it's all rigged. I mean, even for the Bernie supporters, remember Seth Rich was a Bernie supporter, but he was working inside the Democratic, the DNC. And when he saw the cheating going on inside the DNC, 𝗬𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗏 had to step down because she got caught with all the cheating on behalf of Hillary. That was what was the final straw for him, because he knew there wasn't a fair election for Bernie. Total communist. I mean, just out of this world crazy. But if you can't get an honest election even there, then, you know, what are you going to do? We've got to take these people.
So how are the Democrats going to respond to this, Juanito? I mean, let's say Trump, the SAVE Act, I don't expect it to pass, to be honest with you, but let's say, you know, let's say Trump signs the executive order. There's going to be lawsuits galore. They're going to not want to.
Okay, let me hold on. Let's clarify something. An executive order is insufficient for what's got to happen to fix the elections. An executive order, which Trump has done several regarding elections, the 107th executive order in this administration, this term for Trump, was March 25th of 2025, signed at 1:07 in the afternoon, and it regarded cleaning the voter rolls so that we couldn't have people voting who weren't American citizens, who were felons, who aren't authorized to vote. So that was not acted on. It was an executive order. All the counties, all the states were supposed to go in and clean up their voter rolls. Nothing happened. They just thumbed their nose, gave Trump the finger, gave America the finger. They weren't going to clean anything up with their voter rolls. It was supposed to be done within 180 days. That came and went. That was back in September. So an executive order without some teeth to it is a problem. So the governor said, well, it's, you know, the vote's about the states and the counties, and we run the vote. So we, you know, Trump can't tell us what to do. It's like Tina Peters. She gets a presidential pardon, and the governor thumbs his nose at the whole country and Tina and everything else. Yeah, we, you know, we're in charge. And refuses to do that. Now, and by the way, no presidential pardon has ever been overturned in court or addressed. This is the first time that's ever happened. And Tina's still sitting in jail. You know, her health is very, very fragile. So prayers, please. Things are happening behind the scenes, but prayers, please. But let me hold on a second, So we come back to how can this be addressed? It will have to be, you were mentioning there'll be lawsuits, judges, everything else. Listen, when the president issues a national security, declares a national security emergency, he takes control not as the chief of police, but as the commander-in-chief. And the part that everybody here, there should be nobody in this audience who doesn't get this. America was attacked by China, Venezuela, Cuba, Serbia, a bunch of NATO countries in there helping. Some of our friends that are supposed to be our friends were helping behind the scenes with their intelligence operations. We were attacked by other nation states and people outside of our country within business, etc. It's like a James Bond movie. So we're not dealing with a policing issue merely, where somebody goes out and gets arrested, gets drugged before a court, blah, blah, blah. It is stealing an election at the nation state level, one country to another, is the equivalent of dropping a nuclear bomb on another country. It is a weapon of mass destruction to steal an election, to interfere with an election. So we got nuked, and they put other people in power over America who weren't the will of the American people through subterfuge. And they paid big money to do it. They had traitorous, treasonous people at the highest levels assisting them within our government. But it was coordinated and done from outside the United States government borders, etc. We were attacked. The response by Trump ultimately will be a national security emergency. That is not an executive order. And in order to take control, he does it as commander-in-chief. No
could we see
judge, hold on, I'm almost done. No judge can interfere with that during a national security emergency. And in fact, if a judge tries to take action to undermine the president, commander-in-chief's actions during a national emergency like that, they themselves can be thrown in jail. They can be arrested and thrown into jail for treasonous, traitorous activity during a national emergency, trying to undermine the commander-in-chief who's defending us from an external threat. And by the way, for America within the constitutional operation of America, this is an L event. This is a extinction level event. If we don't get this right, America as we grew up, believed it to be, knew it to be, ceases to exist, and we become part of the gray goo of this globalist new world order that they want to do. They just want to turn it all into gray goo.
So Juan, do you see the midterms being delayed or military on the streets at that time?
I'm not a prophet, but let me just say something. A lot of people misunderstand this. The devil himself is not omniscient. Okay.
Okay,
sorry,
you're there.
I got an incoming call. My chief of staff was calling me there. The devil himself doesn't know exactly what's happening next, but just like we do it with computers, he can see things happening. He can see momentum and people and project where things are going and influence things to where it's going because he's got a plan. But that's not omniscience. That's not all-knowing. That is trying to manipulate the future and direct things to a certain outcome. The devil himself doesn't know. So to say that anybody here knows exactly what's going to happen next, they make a move and we make
We make a move. All right, Juan. So let me ask you this: Pam Bondi, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi, formally summoned to Congress an Epstein case. I know you're not a big fan of her, correct? U.S. Congressional Committee has formally summoned Attorney General Pam Bondi, demanding that she answer questions over her handling of the investigation into convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The Republican chairman of the House Oversight Committee, James Corner, wrote in the subpoena letter that his committee is investigating the possible mismanagement of the investigation. What's your thoughts on this, Juanito?
Well, a lot of bends and twists in this, and the problem is, was the FBI forthcoming with the information? Initially on the Epstein stuff, she got like an inch of papers from the FBI. This is everything we have. Are you kidding me? She wrote this scathing letter over to Cash when he first came in as director of FBI. Remember, she got into her office before Cash did. And so she wasn't attacking Cash, just noting what was going on at the FBI and telling him that he needed to yard this in. So Cash goes down with the Tiger team and kicks in the door at Southern District of New York's FBI office and finds a large truckload, really 2 truckloads of evidence related to the Epstein stuff, things that they hadn't acknowledged that they had to Bondi, who was acting at the direction of the president. So was that Bondi's fault? The FBI, Southern District of New York, was holding that stuff, and then they've had that information for 20 years, much of it. So they had a long time to play with it, manipulate it, sift out what they didn't want, because it went to people that they didn't want, and only leave in stuff a certain way, and that some of it may very well have been manipulated. Then on top of that, as a result of going through that information, they found an office at the FBI offices in D.C., which had a bunch of stuff that was still not acknowledged. Now, is that Bondi's fault? No. She told the FBI, give us everything you got there. I got a directive from the president to do stuff. So is that her fault? No. And by the way, they had stuff that was slated for destruction in burn bags in Washington, D.C., that if it hadn't been gotten right when it was gotten, it would have been gone forever. How much did they get rid of before Cash and by extension Bondi got that information from the FBI? FBI was the one that was blocking this. And then beyond even that, by the way, and if you haven't had him on, you've got to get Pete Santilli on. The information that we have now concerning stuff that the FBI was involved in going back into the Obama administration and before. For example, how many people in this audience understand we have evidence now that the FBI was withholding, that they had armed drone authorization at the Bundy Ranch takeover operation in Nevada all the way back, during the Obama administration. They had armed drones and authorization for the president to be patrolling that area where they were doing this huge takeover. Oregon stuff where they were involved there, very bizarre things. And that's some of the information. Where was that? Where did they find that information? On a military base.
Let me break for a quick commercial break, folks. Get to Nino'sCorner.tv. We have the Live Forever Easter sale, baby. Easter sale, Live Forever. One-time payment, lifetime membership on Nino'sCorner.tv. And you get to hear me and Juanito and many other guests talk and ramble on. And it's a Patriot Network community, Black Sheep family. 3 times a month we meet, twice on Ringside with Nino and once on General Tent. I bring people like 𝗀𝗏 on, big guests, to war game with you and discuss the current events. It's fun and it's awesome, and it's an awesome, awesome family. So Live Forever sale, Resurrection sale, Easter sale on Nino'sCorner.tv. And folks, if you haven't already, get your Prepare with Nino. If a major disruption happened and you couldn't get to the store, how do you think things would go? And what's in your house right now? If anything less than a month, if you have anything less than a month, you need to check out our friends at My Patriot Supply. It's down there, the link below, folks. They're America's #1 preparedness company with over 3 million satisfied customers. Companies. What the hell's happening? Too many hits to the head? Maybe. But, and right now, when you go to Prepare with Nino, their best-selling 4-week emergency food supply comes with an additional week of food free. This is the best long-term storable food you can find. Hit the link down below, folks. Get prepared for the apocalypse. Juanito, let me ask you this, man. And a lot of people are asking questions about this. I saw Candace Owens last night throwing Trump under the bus, saying Joe Kent has resigned. And a lot of people have questions about Joe Kent. What should we know about Joe Kent? Because to me, it sounds like he's basically a traitor, and he was once backing the Iran war at one time. You go look at his older tweets. He was all about going into Iran, and now he's like, oh, in good conscience, I can't do it. I can't back the president. What the hell is going on with Joe Kent?
Well, again, this intervening period, all the way back to the beginning of the first Trump administration, you've had people that had their own agendas. Joe Kent was playing the game all the way along at a crucial moment when everything counts. All of a sudden, he comes out against Trump. Look, he was a Bernie supporter. He's been a Democrat all his life. All of a sudden, he changes his story from what he had been saying to go this direction. You have people that literally are in these critical positions who are not, for lack of a better way of saying it, on our side, a conservative side, let's say, in a conservative administration. And so I don't know that traitorous or treasonous is a proper word in this context. I think that's like saying Nazi, okay? But he certainly wasn't.
But he says here, somebody, I just put the comment up. It says he was deployed over 11 times. He's no traitor, they say.
Yeah, again, that's what I'm saying. I think, though, that he certainly wasn't actually a supporter of the agenda that Trump is pursuing. And so at some critical moment, he comes out, says what he's doing. Okay, well, look at his history, his background. Was he ever really, truly in the Trump camp, or was he a fair weather warrior, feather in his nest, and then, finally breaks? Okay, well, I don't know of any Bernie supporters that would support anything that Trump is doing. So, he just came out and we now know who he is. But this period over the last many years, every area of our government, we're getting people coming out, being exposed, having to decisively take a lane, forced into one lane or the other. We're at that dividing place. You got to pick a side. And so, and then for the president going forward, if he hasn't got people that support him in critical locations, how can he do what needs to be done? For example, go back to the Bondi thing. If Bondi was trying to do what Trump wanted her to do and get the Epstein stuff out, and then the FBI doesn't provide that documentation, those papers, that material, doesn't even provide it to Cash, how are they supposed to do this? They're having to go in and attack within the machine people that are very deeply embedded. And by the way, let me just go back and you've got to have Pete Santilli on. You're going to get real information.
You have his connection?
I can do that in a heartbeat. I told you last week I'd get you on with her 2 weeks ago. In fact, he should be a general in the general's tent. This is somebody that has real insider knowledge that has been at the heart of the beast for decades.
Okay, so I'm putting you on the spot right now. Put us in group text.
Yeah, I'll do it as soon as we're through the show here. This is important because you got a lot of people talking at the periphery about stuff. when we have people that are actually right in the heart of it and can talk first person, not second or third or something like that. And by the way, you asked me another question earlier about these people. How can they turn on the president? Listen, if they're getting input from media, which is people that are being paid by advertisers, by money groups, even these people going out and getting the vote that O'Keefe is uncovering. Who's paying those people with their notepads going out and talking to the people? That the money that they're getting paid, they're not getting $15 an hour, and they're not just getting paid for an hourly. They're also getting paid per person to come up, scrape the bottom of the barrel, get these votes. Who's paying that money? How come it's worth the kinds of money that these people are spending to win an election? Because when they get their person in, just like Karen Bass, the mayor of LA, okay, what's her agenda? She is a person that traveled to Cuba many times and loved Fidel Castro, thought he was the greatest thing ever, okay? And she's mayor of LA. And was she even legally allowed to go to Cuba during that time period and support Castro? And then she becomes the mayor of LA. Are the people of LA actually that baked that they voted for a woman who's a supporter of Fidel Castro as the mayor of LA? Or are those votes cooked? And when they were cooked, someone was put into position to help make sure everything stays smooth in the takeover of California. The leverage. By the way, look again at what's going on at LA Unified School District. You have the guy who was superintendent of schools admitting he's not an American citizen. And then the questions on the credentialing. I got something going right now that we're deep into, looking at the credentials of numerous of these school superintendents, and they have none of the required credentialing, and yet they're in charge of putting onto the ballots huge bonds that become liabilities against the property of every single person that has property. And maybe you're a renter, but the guy that owns the property that you're renting from still has to pay those taxes. And California is as bad as anywhere in the country. Chicago, oh, wait till we get to Chicago and some of these other major cities. Oh my gosh, the fraud.
So, do you want to take some? We got to jump, but you want to take some questions from the audience?
Sure.
All right, but first, let me get to some. We're going to take the questions from the audience, but first, folks, I got to do it. It's that time for What the Fuck News in What the Fuck News in What the Fuck News. An asteroid just exploded over Ohio with a force of 250 tons of TNT. I thought we were supposed to be like monitoring this shit. Eyewitness accounts and videos taken from across the Midwest revealed the streak of a large fireball across the daytime sky. A flashy fireball streaked across the skies above the Midwest on Tuesday, falling to the earth near Lake Erie and Ohio at around 9 a.m. Some reported hearing a boom loud enough to shake their houses. How many people probably thought, like in that area, thought it was like Iran trying to bomb us or something? The object appears to have been a 7-ton asteroid that spanned nearly 6 feet in diameter, according to NASA. When it fell, it was traveling at about 40,000 miles per hour. How do they know this? 40,000 miles per hour.
Oh, we can track them, yeah.
Okay, all right, well, whatever. In a southeasterly direction before fragmenting and blowing up over Valley City in Ohio. The explosion had the equivalent force of 250 tons of TNT, like what I pack in my fists, baby. The agency said, and may have also shook houses north of Medina. Folks, I've seen this before in Las Vegas. I remember when I was living in Las Vegas, when I was training out there, I was up in Lake Las Vegas area where you can kind of look down and see the strip below you. And I'll never forget, I was outside grilling steaks by my pool in Las Vegas outside. And the next thing you know, it was a nighttime. It was about 9 o'clock at night. The whole sky lit up with a fiery blaze. And I saw this friggin' asteroid, boom, and just you could hear it. and feel it, but nothing, like you didn't see it explode. It just was a flash of light, and it just lit up the whole Las Vegas sky. And I'll always have that image in my mind for as long as I live. I didn't know what it was, but it turned out to be like an asteroid. So it was pretty cool. I got to see one myself. Juanito, ready for some
Sure.
All right, let's take this super chats, Alex. Kelly Pineski gives us a super sticker. Thank you so much, Kelly. Hey, yo. Big Shot Blues. Juan, what's your take on secret space program and Stargates?
Well, I'll get accused of going too long-winded. Look, there's very real stuff going on. You know, while you're looking up, part of the illusion is to get you looking the wrong direction. Is the secret space program what's going on above us or under our feet? And where the money gets spent, and in the various areas. Remember, the day before 9/11, you had this huge revelation at the Pentagon that we're missing gazillions of dollars. We don't know where it is. We're searching for it. And then, by the way, where did the missile hit the Pentagon at? Exactly in that exact little spot where all the records have been brought to one location to try to figure out where the missing money was at, okay?
Wow.
And then kaboom, that's where it went kaboom there at the Pentagon. And let me just add, this is a pattern. I want people to understand this is a pattern. This is a pattern. This is a pattern. At Oklahoma City, what was amazing about that was in the weeks just prior to the explosion at Oklahoma City, all of the records regarding Whitewater and the drug running coming out of South America, which the CIA was heavily involved in, numerous monetary groups were heavily involved in, big corporations. That was what all the development finance authorities were in the various states, Arkansas, Nebraska, Illinois, Louisiana, etc. All of those records, the original copies were ordered by the Senate Finance Oversight Committee to be gathered, not copies. For testimony, detectives, investigators, they keep their original notes, their original records. And then if somebody wants a copy, they can give a copy. But in this case, they were ordered to give all the original evidence, which means they lose chain of custody to Senate investigation. It was all boxed up, put in semis, and then amazingly enough, everybody was told it was going to Washington, D.C. for review and for testimony before the Senate to get to the bottom of what was going on. It didn't go to Washington, D.C. Those trucks went straight over to Oklahoma City. The files and records were put in the building there at the federal building in Oklahoma, the Murrah building, supposedly because they didn't have room in Washington, D.C., you know, Indiana Jones, Ark of the Covenant, they didn't have room in all those warehouses in Washington, D.C., so they had to put it in the Murrah building. Completely asinine, bizarre. And then, amazingly, miraculously, this explosion takes place, which, by the way, McVeigh was working in military intelligence. He wasn't on his own between Waco and Oklahoma City. He was an intelligence operative contractor on the payroll of federal agencies at that time. We even have video and still pictures of him on base in North Dakota, where a movie producer out of California was doing some looking for stuff to do. So the reason I say that, Nino, is this.
Well, we got to get to the next question.
Okay, I got it. But the reason I say that is that there is a very, very coordinated action groups within our federal government. That's why Pete Santilli is so important. He found other stuff also in the group working with him of federal officers and operatives, contractors doing things, setting up America. And what you think is going on is not exactly what's going on, including where the money's being spent. Secret space program, or are they doing stuff to make you look there when they're actually doing it there?
Interesting. All right, let's get to the next. All right, great show. Kelly Rail, 1982. Great show. Thank you, David, for all you do. Love you, big. Love you back, big. Let's get to the next one. Jennifer. Yo,
yeah, don't hug him so hard you make his eyes bug out. Okay, I mean we love you, Nino, but gosh. And by the way, Nino,
I need it.
Still take you. I could still take you. You behave yourself. I got moves.
Oh well, you did do 10th flight of stairs today. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
you're
it was all down. It was all downhill,
Oh,
fortunately.
all right. Oh, I thought you were going up, not down. All right.
No, I had to go down.
So, Jennifer Valencia, hi, David and Juan. God bless you both and your families. Juan, is our financial system going to crash and keep stocking up on silver and gold? How soon will this happen, and how much will silver go up?
Well, the negotiations regarding putting a floor under prices for various materials for mining, that Vance is leading that with the largest of the mining groups globally. The floor that's being negotiated is somewhere between 240 and 320. And I think personally it's going to be somewhere around 280, but they're negotiating in that range. And the industry people that I talk to, external to the U.S., they like this 240 for various reasons. Internal, they want a floor of 280. And the reason that you have to have some kind of a pricing agreement is because what happened to America previously was that China came in with its slave labor and things where they're going into these countries all over the world, extracting these minerals at costs that were below the cost of production here in the U.S. So companies stopped mining. They just stopped mining for silver. It's too expensive to mine for it. You can't sell it for less than it costs to get it out of the ground and to run a safe operation. And then you don't do that in like a week. These projects, take 10 years oftentimes to go from all of the prospecting, verifying where the veins are at, coming up with a mining plan, getting the licensing to do so. Our federal agencies do monitor stuff for good reason, to make sure that the operations make sense and that you're not creating an environmental disaster or something like that. So there's a lot goes into it. And from an industry standpoint, silver is an industrial metal. And there's really nothing else out there that does what silver can do in electronics applications and some other.
And especially now with AI, right?
Yeah, and so you have to have a certain amount of silver just to handle the industrial applications. So we have a need that it's a choke point. If we don't have enough silver, there's a lot of work here in America that we just can't do. And by the way, Trump is returning industry to America. So the local need inside the country for these critical minerals is going to go up radically as opposed to other places in the world. We're shutting down China on a lot of this stuff. And by the way, let me just add this one little thing. The entire total complete fight, whether you're talking Venezuela, Iran, Cuba, which by the way is right next door to Guantanamo Bay, where China has listening posts in Cuba and Russia has listening posts in Cuba. With what's going to go on in Guantanamo, we need to root that out. We want that out of the area. So Cuba's coming around our direction here. So anyway, go ahead. Silver up there close to 300 is the direction we're going. And there's paper silver obligations that are being cleared. These insiders, these people that have been manipulating the market forever. So they've brought down the transactional price of silver. It's not a street price on silver, really. And if you were selling your silver during this time period, that's probably not advisable. So,
all right, let's get to the next question. I got to jump.
Paper silver is not the same as real silver. Go ahead.
𝗀𝗃𝗏𝗃 576. Thank you very much. Wash Pro Sand, I guess. Is there one large event that will get the ball rolling on putting the election fraud with court rulings in front of all Americans? Is there one large event that will get the ball rolling?
Well, you've had several. The Georgia stuff, the Maricopa stuff with subpoenas going in and taking all those records. We know the frauds that were there. There's still stuff coming. Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Pennsylvania. Oh my gosh, Pennsylvania. Oh my gosh, Nevada. We have lots of stuff that's still coming, but as big as those are, until the arrests begin, it's still happy time, fluffy talk. It won't be real for most everybody. For cause, look, we've been seen all the corruption lots of times. Then nobody goes to jail, nobody gets hurt except for Tina Peters, who never had a traffic ticket.
I
in her
can't believe
entire
she's
life,
out.
you know?
She's not out yet. I'm just in disbelief over this.
Well, and I've heard it all. Just please pray for Tina, and it's being worked. Even she doesn't want to get out on the wrong situation. She's holding her own, but prayer required.
Juanito, I got to call it here. I got to jump off. 𝗬𝗶𝗹 super sticker. Let's see if there's anything else we can answer real quick. 𝗀𝗃𝗏𝗏𝗃 576. Thank you so much. My 2 cents, Team America. Oh yeah. All right, brother. Good. Okay, let's see if we could always learn. 721. Is anyone from the breakaway civilization helping the White House, Juanito?
No.
I would say that's you.
Well, let me just take a second there. I know that you gotta go, but
all roads lead to Antarctica.
The breakaway group has fingers all across the globe, and so you can't look at one nexus of a location. And they believe that if we destroy ourselves, that the bad karma falls on us. And so the devil doesn't. The devil in the scriptural reference is described at the great white throne judgment as being like a worm, no arms, no legs. Why do they like this imagery of a dragon? Because a dragon is just a snake with arms and legs. In other words, it's a hybrid. It's part humanoid, part snake reptilian. So we become the arms and legs if we join forces with it. And that's why they like this dragon imagery. Within the breakaway, they believe that if we, the devil does what he does by mental manipulation through various entreaties into our minds. Think of the media. Think of the people you said, a minute ago were suddenly flipping because they're under influence from the money. They're able to be influenced and suddenly turn on Trump. Well, they were never really truly there. They're under the influence of these other groups. And so they're back and forth and back and forth. They're not principle. They're who's supporting me today and what direction's everybody else going, and I'm going to go with that too. So they're not in the movements they're doing based on principle, things that are core to who they are. They're doing it based on which way is the wind blowing today, and I got to be with the crowd, including what the media is saying any given day. The devil wants to influence the way you think. It's MK Ultra for your mind. And from this breakaway mentality, it's about getting us to decide to destroy each other. And last thing, I know you want to go, but just think about this for a second. Why is it that in what Albert Pike did in the 1800s, in saying it was going to take 3 world wars to take control of the whole world with a one world government, why is the 3rd war a war between the 3 brothers, half brothers, sons of Abraham? Okay. Abraham, we think of the 3, this is a religious war they're trying to set up, 3rd World War. It's Jews, Muslims, and Christians. So they all tie back to Abraham in the Bible. That's why you have this whole thing.
Where do the New Agers fit into this?
Well, no, it's the Abraham Accords, but the New Agers are tied to
the alien stuff.
No. They're tied to ultimately it's like the green movement.
Okay, they're like I get it.
And,
Yeah,
and they're all over the map.
science.
You know, it's they want their new world order, and you're getting you have lots of different appearingly disparate groups, but at the end of the day, the devil himself is running a lot of these operations, and it's whatever flavor of the day that you'll go along with across the rainbow to sell out to the devil. Some people will sell out for a pack of cigarettes. Other people, you know, you got to give them the whole world.
That's happening in California right now.
The world, you know, is not enough.
I'm gonna call it right here. I got to jump on to Dr. 𝗬𝗏, who's going to be reading Erica Kirk's body language. This guy is a psychologist, worked with some of the hardest, ruthless inmates in Australia, serial killers, psychopaths, the whole thing. And this guy's been over the target. He's been great. Juan, thank you so much. Folks, you can go to 𝗬𝗏𝗏, 𝗬𝗏𝗏.com. Get yourself some silver Magador gear. Juanito, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, and by the way, just so you know, over at All Patriots at gumroad.com, we have a spectacular thing, very brief, while silver's under 100, and with an extra coin for the 5 and 10 packs with a couple coins we held back from 2025 and 2023. So anyway, that's a
thank you, Juanito. Juan,
stay with me. Thing, so anyway.
Stay with me just for a moment. All right, folks. And the new heavyweight champion of podcasting and the black sheep of broadcasting, baby. Later.